In today's video, I'm going to be covering how much does it cost to move final salary pensions. Okay, anybody who wanted to get it done for a couple of quid, you're going to be very unhappy. It is going to cost you thousands of pounds. And in today's video, I'm going to explain why that is, how you can get the best value out of that advice relationship, and to ensure that you understand everything that you need to do in terms of a final salary pension transfer. Okay, so number one, why do you have to pay for advice in terms of a final salary pension transfer? I'm sure by this stage you've already done your homework, but for those who haven't, I'm going to quickly cover it. The UK government has introduced legislation to ensure anybody with a cash equivalent transfer value over £30,000 must seek professional advice on the suitability of that from a regulated and authorised pension transfer specialist. Here at Cameron James, we always use a third party and independent pension transfer specialist for the suitability of that advice. Now, the reason that is there is not because the government is somehow in cahoots with financial advisors or everyone is trying to make money out of clients. The reason that legislation is there is because many clients have been taken advantage of. Go and Google British Steel scandal, DB. Read it. Read for 20 minutes. How people's lives have been ruined by unscrupulous financial advisors recommending people to transfer out their safeguarded assets with absolutely, or in many instances, little care for that person's family or beneficiaries. That is why the legislation is there. It is there to protect you, not to annoy you, okay? I can assure you now. So, in terms of the transfer cost, I'm going to give you a breakdown now of an example of, say, a £1 million pension pot. Actually, let's start off at £500,000 and then I'll do 1 million. So £1 million pension pot. If you came to Cameron James with an inquiry and said, hi, I have £500,000 CETV. First of all, we need to do weeks worth of initial work, potentially months worth of initial work to get all the information as per your CETV. You might have a 40-page CETV and you think, God, it's full of information. No, they're typically missing very large amounts of information which we require here to send to the pension transfer specialist for your DB advice report. So it can be a couple of weeks or potentially up to a couple of months before we can even put you forward for your DB advice report. At the time of recording, £500,000, the fixed DB advice report as part of our 2-advisor model would be roughly around £3,000 for the FCA suitability advice from the FCA regulated pension transfer specialist. Now, at Cameron James, we also have our initial transfer and implementation charge of 2% for any portfolios between £250,000 and £1 million. My team will quickly share the cost section here at Cameron James. We're one of the only financial advisory firms I know in the industry, particularly the offshore market, who is so transparent about our costs from day one. We want you to know it exactly before you get in touch with us. We don't run a charge and what you can model at Cameron James. No, we've done the analysis. We've worked out how many hours it takes to complete pension transfers. And so these are our costs above. So between £0 and £250,000, we have an initial setup or transfer fee of 3% and an ongoing charge of 1%. Between 250 and a million, we have an initial transfer charge of 2% and 1% ongoing. For portfolios over $1 million, it's a 1% transfer or setup charge and 1% ongoing. In all of these instances, the £3,000 report fee would be applicable. Now, typically on the larger pension pots, that £3,000 independent PTS report might actually go up with the pension value. It might go up to £4,000 or £5,000 depending upon the size of your pension pot. And again, the reason I can't say exactly is it depends upon your country of residence and which pension transfer specialist we would be working with. So that gives you a breakdown of the initial cost and how it would work. So on a £500,000 pension pot, you'd have a 2% initial advisor fee at Cameron James and circa a £3,000 DB report fee. So you'd have £13,000 in terms of your initial process to complete a pension transfer out. If your pension pot is any other value, you can use our online cost page to understand what your initial charges would be by adding in our initial charge plus the cost for the pension transfer specialist report. What's really important to understand is no matter where you go in the industry, no matter what rocks you pull up, everyone is going to charge you thousands of pounds. Anybody who can do it for free, that's seriously worrying because it takes a very long period of time. It can take months. A pension transfer process and advice report from the PTS can take anywhere between 3, 6, 9 or even 12 months, depending upon how difficult your seeding scheme in the UK is. Once all the advice is given, it can then actually take a further set of months and months to get the transfer done because of all the new rules and legislation and scam legislation which have been put in place to protect you as clients. Now, a lot of financial advisors, I can get it done for you in 2 weeks. Absolute baloney. I run Cameron James, I'm the CEO. I know exactly how long it takes to do a pension transfer, and we are one of the most efficient in the market. And we know this because we get feedback from the trustees that we work with, we're transferring it to, and the trustees that we transfer out. They commend us on how detailed we are in terms of any paperwork which goes over to them. So you have to understand, you're going to be paying fees, or big bucks as you could refer to it, to get financial planning advice in the first place. So make sure what you're getting is quality. Make sure you understand from your financial advisor what you're going to be getting in return for those fees. How quickly do they respond? Can you check their Google reviews? Are they featured in the Financial Times or articles like this? What is the reputation of your pension transfer specialist and the advisor as part of a two-advisor model? If they don't answer your emails very quickly and at the start of your advice process, that gives you a pretty clear indication that on an ongoing basis, they're probably not going to be very good at servicing you as well. And that brings you on to the other important point. Whoever you decide to work with at the beginning is likely going to be the one that you're doing the ongoing financial advice with as well. So you're not just making a decision at the beginning of what are the costs. And this is where a lot of clients fall down. Because, for example, say over a 10-year period you're working with a financial advisor. At the beginning, they might have very cheap costs, okay? On an ongoing basis, they might be the same as the other financial advisor, but their ongoing service is woeful. Your performance is terrible. Maybe they're using active managed funds with very, very large TER, which is underperforming the market. You need to understand all of these things in advance. And unfortunately, what I see in my experience here in the industry is buy cheap, buy twice. I've seen this happen so many times in the financial advice market, particularly in the international market. The amount of inquiries we have coming through to us on a weekly basis of people saying, please help me. I've screwed up my UK pension. I transferred it to XYZ, global, cheap, whoever, from wherever and whatever company. I've got an offshore bond. I got this, I got that. Not there's anything wrong with offshore bonds, but a lot of offshore bonds are attached to commission payments going to the financial advisors. They allow a lot of underlying funds with very expensive TERs that would not be allowed on an FCA regulated platform that we would recommend to our clients, typically speaking, if they were to complete a pension transfer. So it's really important to understand, yes, you're going to have to pay costs, but make sure you get good value from that. And on an ongoing basis, ask, what are you going to get in return? If you have a financial advisor who says, I'm going to be actively managing your portfolio and outperforming the market, you better hope they do. The statistics out there, we'll put the links in the description below, show that between 80 to 90, 95% of active managers do not outperform the market over a 10, 20-year period. They underperform the market dramatically, and you pay them a load of high fees and charges for the privilege of doing so. So what are you actually going to get from your financial advisor? Okay, you're going to meet up with them in person to discuss what? Are they doing cash flow planning for you? Are they helping you out with your wills, lasting power of attorney? Are they pushing you on your mortgages? Are they making sure you're making use of your allowances in the UK, your pensions, your ISAs, your JISAs? What about your inheritance tax planning? Has the cash flow shown you what your inheritance tax bill is going to be? All these things are what make up such a valuable part of financial planning. Unfortunately, many financial advisors are charging 1% a year for doing the square root of nothing, in my opinion. And there's a very famous company in the UK at the moment, and starts with S and ends in P, who is having a lot of litigation coming to them. People saying, you never serviced me, you never did anything. I want a refund on my advice fees. So anyway, I hope that gives you a bit of a better understanding. It's not a good one. You're always going to have to pay fees, but at the end of the day, professional services are expensive, and there's no shortcut when it comes to getting DB financial planning advice. I know this. I've been in the industry for a very long period of time. Anybody who's able to offer you very cheap initial or ongoing DB advice, I'd be very skeptical of that advice. Do your homework. And as always, stay safe with your UK pension assets.